What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll finally be doing the Neos deck, which took me a while to get around because I knew we were getting these, but I had completely forgotten what they did, so I had to read again, along with learning some of the play lines and stuff like that. I'd also like to mention that this deck is based on D-Time's deck list, which I'll leave a link to his channel down below, though I did make some changes that I was kind of looking at while playing the deck myself. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as they go a long way in supporting the channel and show me that you like content like this. So to begin, I'm going to start with what you can do with just Engage and Shadow Mist. I'd like to point out that what you can do with this deck greatly varies on what the other cards in your hand are, because they can send different names to the graveyard, allowing you to go into different stuff and things like that. But you'll see I'm going to use the Spirit of Neos effect as Chainlink 1, the Shadow Mist as Chainlink 2, and I'm going to search the Stratos here, and also searching the favorite contact. And at this point I'm just stacking names in the graveyard, as I'm going to use the Spirit of Neos in order to get me the Vanilla Neos. And now I'm going to normal summon and use the Stratos effect in order to search the Spirit of Neos and get that back to my hand. But now I can fuse away into Sunrise, which is probably what you make the most in this deck, as I'm going to add myself the Miracle Fusion. And from here, I'm going to use the Miracle Fusion to go into the Esk. And this can be something that you do with Mass Change. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of good hero targets that you can summon off of Miracle Fusion without necessarily getting Liquid Soldier or something like that and going into Absolute Zero, which even then it's not the greatest. But something cool about this hand is, say that your favorite contact happens to survive until the end phase, and you don't have to use it to summon something off of an opponent's disruption or something like that. You actually have enough materials with the two heroes on board, the Neos and the Grand Mole, and the two banished hero monsters, to go into Divine Neos, which isn't a disruption or anything like that, but I do think that if your favorite contact is to survive until the end phase, it's a very interesting option, because depending on what the other cards in your hand are, if you're able to send more Neospacians to the graveyard, then you can copy their effects and stuff like that. But you also have to note that one downside favorite contact has to it is that even though it fusions from the field, hand like a normal poly, or graveyard and banish like a revolt, the downside here is that you do have to return them to the bottom of the deck. But Divine Neos was just something that I wanted to point out because I thought it was kind of cool. So on to the second combo, and now I'm going to show Crosskeeper and a Hero Lives. One strength that the Hero or the Neos deck has is the ability to play 3 A Hero Lives, 3 Emergency Call, Rhoda, the 3 Neos fusions, get your names into the graveyard and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways to get your setup going. And as you'll see here, I'm going to use the A Hero Lives, and I'm going to special summon Stratos, get its effect, and then from there I can add the Spirit of Neos, which then I'll use the Crosskeeper, special summoning the Spirit of Neos, use the Spirit of Neos effect, add myself the Poly, and if you happen to hard draw Poly here, then you can actually add the instant contact, get your 2 draws, special summon Wingman, use the Spirit of Neos effect, and then go into Shining Wingman if you're going second to like break your opponent's board and stuff. But because you're going first, I'm taking this approach here, as I'm going to go back into Sunrise, draw 2, use the Miracle Fusion, and then from there special summon fusion summon the Brave Neos, which I'd also like to point out is another huge problem in the deck. As you see, this takes an Elemental Hero Neos plus 1 level 4 or lower effect monster, meaning basically any of your small heroes or your Neospacians. And while the material requirement for this card is amazing, The effect does absolutely nothing going first, and it's one of the only things that you can make in this combo, so there's that. But you do have the Spirit of Neos for some protection and follow-up, along with the 3 other cards in hand. So for the next hand here, now I'm going to show Crosskeeper, A Hero Lives, and Engage. And I think I've said this before, I think that Engage is the best new card that we got because of how it kind of just accelerates the deck. And we're gonna use the Crosskeep now, or the Engage, to send a Neospatian and the Shadow Mist to the graveyard. And then we're going to use the Spirit of Neos as Chainlink 1, Shadow Mist as Chainlink 2, add myself the Blazeman. Now we can use the Spirit of Neos to add the favorite contact, use the Crosskeeper, special summoning the Blazeman, then kind of late here, use the Spirit of Neos to special summon the Vanilla Neos, and then we're going to use the Blazeman here, important to send the Liquid Soldier here, as I'm going to use the Polymerization, fusing away the 2 level 4 heroes in order to go to Sunrise, as seen previously. Crosskeeper Chainlink 1, Sunrise Chainlink 2, add yourself the Miracle Fusion, get a couple of draws and put one back. And now because we have the Liquid Soldier in graveyard from the Blazeman, we're able to use the Miracle Fusion to go into Absolute Zero. And Liquid Soldier also gets its effect here. As you see, my hand is stacked, so that's kind of what my draws were. But I think this hand does a good job in showing just what one more good card can do in your hand compared to the last 2 combos. So on to the 4th combo here, and now I'm doing A Hero Lives with Crosskeeper if you open Stratos, which basically just gets you into your Shadow Mist and gets you into the Dark Law access. You only play 1 Stratos, and that's why I'm showing this. So I'm going to add the Mass Change. One difference from D-Time's build is that he took out the Mass Changes. I still think that there's a use for them because being able to dodge hand traps and stuff is important, and because the deck doesn't have a lot of good cards that it can summon on your own turn, even though I'm going to end up sending the Mass Change here, or setting, because I special summoned it this turn. It's one of those things where having something that's good going first is kind of important. As you see, we use the Spirit of Neos effect, special summoning the Neos, and now we're going to fuse away into Sunrise again, use the Crosskeep as Chainlink 1, the Sunrise is Chainlink 2, and from here get the 2 draws, use the Miracle Fusion, go into the Brave Neos again, and set the Mass Change to go into your Dark Law on your opponent's turn while also having the Spirit of Neos in hand for protection. Now on to the final combo, and I'm going to do A Hero Lives again, Crosskeeper, along with Emergency Call. And while this is similar to the previous combos, the reason I'm showing this is because I want to show the different lines of play that you can take depending on what your situations are. So you're going to see that I'm going to use the A Hero Lives here, getting the Stratos, then using the Stratos effect, getting the out of the Blazeman, and then I can use the Emergency Call, which will add me the Spirit of Neos. Now I can use the Crosskeeper, which will special summon the Spirit of Neos, and then I can use the Spirit of Neos effect in order to get me Polymerization. Now, I would like to point out that there is a world in which if you're going second, at this point in time, you could have added Instant Contact instead of Poly in order to special summon the Wingman and then normal summon the Blazeman in order to get the Poly, and then use the Neos that you get off of Spirit of Neos and the Wingman for the Shining Flare Wingman to get some pops. But this is what we're doing for going first. So that was just something I wanted to say, but we're going to normal summon the Blazeman here, not using its effect to add, but using its effect to send here. And now we're going to use the Shadow Mist effect, getting us the Spirit of Neos, And much like our previous combos, we can use the Poly now, go into the Sunrise for the millionth time, using Crosskeeper Chainlink 1, Sunrise Chainlink 2, adding the Miracle Fusion, drawing 2, putting back 1, and then I'm going to use the Miracle Fusion here, banishing a couple to make Brave Neos, unfortunately, but this is kind of all we have with the Neos fusions right now. So while again it's not the greatest, you do have follow-up in the form of Spirit of Neos and Liquid Soldier, along with 2 cards in your hand that you may or may not be able to play with. And I don't mean to sound negative in this hand, it's just that the deck is still getting support and it's still very under-supported. And don't get me wrong, I know that there's hand loops that you can do with Aqua Dolphin, Aqua Neos, and stuff like that, but it just requires you to play more cards that you don't want to play, and it's just a little bit suboptimal in my opinion. I'd also like to point out that drawing Neospacians along with Engage do a lot for the deck as well, but I'm going to take you onto the deck profile now to give the rest of the rundown. So onto the deck profile, I'm going to start by doing the card by card, and then I'm going to talk a lot. So there's the 2 Neos, the 1 Spirit of Neos, the Stratos, the Blaze Man, the Liquid Soldier, the 2 Shadow Mist, the Mass Change, the Crosskeeper, the 1 Dark Panther, the 1 Grand Mole, the 1 Aqua Dolphin, the 2 Polys, the 1 Instant Contact because it's searchable, as well as the 1 Favorite Contact because it's searchable. I don't think that you should play this deck as similar to Tri-Brigade just because Tri-Brigade isn't necessarily a combo deck as it is more a draw 1 card and a bunch of hand traps, and that 1 card just kind of gets you there. This deck doesn't have that, which is why there's only 1 Favorite Contact. Then there's the 3 A Hero Lives, the 3 Neos Fusion, the 3 Engage, the 1 Miracle Fusion, the 1 Rhoda, the 3 E-Calls, the Dark Ruler No Mores, the 3 Crows, and then onto the extra deck there's the 1 Infernal Devicer to get you fusion materials to your hand. It's also nice having a link to that you can go to, because there are some hands where you may get stuck with like a couple of heroes that do nothing. So having the option to go into Devicer and speed up the process of making your favorite contact better, along with getting the rest of your setup, is important. Then there's the Divine Neos. This comes up a lot more than one might think. I think it's actually ridiculously easy to get 1 Neos, 1 Neospacian, and 3 other names in the graveyard between the Neos Fusion, the A Hero Lives, Emergency Call, Engage, hard drawing them, the Rhoda. Basically, about half your deck can trim at least a couple of cards. Then there's the Cosmo Neos, and I'll be leaving a link to a Cosmo Neos combo which is on D-Time's channel. I didn't want to put it on this channel because I kind of just didn't want to rip off his content, as there's also changes I made to the deck along with opinions I wanted to give. But I feel like also being able to see mine and his, along with other references, you may be able to get all the information that you want. Then there's the Nebula Neos. This is a card that you go into more often if you happen to open Engage, plus a Neospacian, which would allow you to get into lines where you can get more names into the graveyard, as if you happen to open one of these 2 here, the Engage can send the other. Your Spirit of Neos can add you the Favorite Contact, and that's into your Nebula Neos. The 1 Shining Wingman, and I know that this looks weird, but it's particularly because there's only 1 Favorite Contact, and that Favorite Contact could end up also going into Nebula Neos or Divine in the end phase of your opponent's turn. It just depends. Then there's the 1 Ab-Zero and the 1 Acid. I do think that these are still worth playing. As it stands now, there's just not enough good Neospacian fusions or Neos-related fusions to fill your extra deck up with them. So that's why they're here. Then you see the Adoration here. This could also be Esk. I just have both of them in this video to show that You can play one or the other, and again, it's another underwhelming option that you kind of just have to play because, like Brave Neos here, it's just so easy to summon it out. Then there's the Sunrise, which also only takes 2 hero monsters. The Aqua Neos, the Dark Neos, and the Grand Neos for your Neos fusions because you play these 3. And then the 1 Flame Wingman for the Instant Contact. I'd like to point out that the Instant Contact can also special summon any of these and make your Mass Change live, which is kind of cute. But the only reason that there's 1 Instant Contact is because I did want room for more going second cards. I just don't think that this deck is strong enough to survive if people know what it does without playing enough going second cards. But those are just my thoughts. And then lastly, the 1 Dark Lord because there's only 2 Mass Change. As for the side deck, I have the 1 Pink for the side deck quote-unquote trinity here with the HFD and the Reboot. Pink has multiple uses, and it's good against Sprite because you can run over the Toad, pop the Elf in the battle phase and stuff like that. Then the 3 Droplets, because just like Dark Ruler in this format, these 2 cards here are really good. Then the 3 Twin Twisters, the 3 D-Barriers, and the 3 Rivalries to round out the side deck. So now that I've gotten the card by card out of the way, I want to give some extra thoughts about this deck. As you can see, the deck definitely functions and there is potential there, but as it stands and as I've been saying, we need better Neos fusion targets. Without playing Rainbow Dragon, you can't go into Rainbow Neos, and that's literally the best Neos fusion that we have to summon off of Neos fusion right now. Which is unfortunate because the Rainbow Dragon does absolutely nothing for this deck. So having to go into the Brave Neos, something that gives me hope that we may get a better fusion down the line. Something I would like to see is a fusion monster that takes the same requirements as Brave Neos, but maybe adds you a card with Neos in its text or something like that, and then instead of having a battle protection effect, give it an effect that's kind of like Summon Limit or like Imperial Order for the opponent, because they already have Plasma, they have Dark Law. Because we don't have Verte anymore, the Neos deck and the Hero decks are really the only ones that would be playing it. And at the end of the day, you still have to play Neos Fusion for it along with the brick. So it's a reach that it might even be in Omni Heroes. Other thing which the deck lacks at times is a mass change for a light monster, and it's because the light mass change target is already not that great and not worth playing in my opinion. I feel like a good light mass change target would just do wonders for this deck. And then lastly, as I've pretty much covered everything, the only other thing that I want to say is there's no Ashe in the main deck because I do think Ashe is not too great in this format, and I wanted as many high impact cards as possible. Because we don't have all the support for this deck yet, and because there's even more that could be on the way, high impact cards that can lock your opponent out of playing are the best generic options that you can play besides Crow, which can either banish a Toad or tier monster. And you could take out 1 Crow for Called by the Grave if you would like. I felt with the 3 A Hero Lives, Neos Fusion, 3 E-Calls, Engage, that's just 12 cards, just with your spells, that can get your play started, even if the Neos Fusion isn't necessarily that strong by itself. That's all I have for today's video. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed, and I thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. Being able to help others grow by reading comments on my videos, something that I would like to see on this channel, help and make the community as a whole better. There's just always room for us to improve. That's all for today's video. It's Bones, signing out.